Welcome to this section of our coverage of HP Discover. I'm Andy McCaskey from SDR News, and we're going to be talking about servers here. Who better to introduce the topic than Randy Meyer? Randy, congratulations, sir.
Well, thank you. Yeah, since I was here last year, I was running Nonstop last year. Now I've picked up all of our high-end business. So Unix, OpenVMS, Nonstop, and our big scale-up x86 servers.
Okay, and Neil MacDonald, what is your role at HP?
Well, I'm responsible for our Blade business.
Okay, well, both of you have had some announcements at HP. Who gets to go first?
I'll defer to Randy.
Well, some really cool stuff going on. So we've just made some major enhancements in the latest release of HP Unix, for example. Big virtualization announcements, big enhancements that allow us to do more private cloud deployment that help lots of people that are trying to say, I love my Unix environment for certain parts of what I'm doing, but I'm moving to private cloud is how I deploy those inside my environment. So those things are going on and seeing great acceptance. We also just did a whole new low-end Nonstop line. So customers that really need Nonstop, but maybe you're a smaller bank or you're putting in a remote application now, instead of doing really big, really massive computer room data center size, you could put it in a small footprint and get that same fault tolerance for smaller applications.
Mm-hmm. And Neil, what about on the Blade server side?
Well, on the Blade server side, we've taken our next steps forward with our Virtual Connect technology in bringing forth switches that enable you to get all the benefits of convergence without compromising on performance. With our 20 gigabit downlinks to each individual server, you can run both your Ethernet traffic and your Fiber Channel storage traffic on a single converged link without having to compromise on the performance of one or the other. So you get all the benefits of convergence without having to give something up to get it. Yep. And then on the management side of things, we're with the power of one management, one infrastructure, and HP OneView bringing that together, we're redefining how infrastructure can be managed in a way that's much more agile, much more efficient, much more responsive, and enables the infrastructure to deploy new services much more quickly.
Mm-hmm. What market trends are driving the investment that HP is making in these types of products that are being released?
Well, so many of our customers are under this crushing pressure to deliver more and more services, to deal with pressure from mobility and big data and what that does to their IT environments, and to deliver those services and capabilities to their end customers much more quickly than they have in the past, at much lower cost.
So the agility and the ability to react dynamically is a real driver here.
Yeah, and being able to do that at the same time as still delivering a very robust, highly available experience. Automation is really critical. We're past the point where it's viable to run really large infrastructures with any degree of manual intervention.
We know where the errors are coming from.
Exactly.
They're coming from the people in the loop.
Well, and I think Neil touched on something really important. Always on is being driven by all these different things. We all carry a mobile device. We all expect the ability to get to whatever application or whatever tool it is, whether it's mail, whether it's a e-commerce application, whether it's just messaging somebody, all the time. I expect that to work. So guess what? If I'm a bank, you now have to access my payment network or your core banking application to check your environment. If you're a manufacturer and you've got sales reps out calling on customers, they're carrying a tablet form factor to go check inventory, check what can be delivered. So the expectation is the application's always on, the data's always right, but then you have the sprawl problem Neil was talking about.
Right, but the expectation and the velocity of business is not only is that data available, it's real. The expectation is it's real-time data.
It is
that's reflecting what's going on.
Well, not only is it real-time, it's combined from multiple sources, right? So if I think about that, okay, I want to go get the data that I know, but I may also need to combine it with something off the web that tells me the location of where that customer's factory is. Guess what? That means I might have a Unix application talking to a Nonstop payments application that's using his virtualized technology to say, give me all these massive web servers and other applications that I can bring in. That's the definition of application. It's not some monolith anymore. It's a whole collection of services that let me do something.
And moving beyond just the velocity with which people access a service, there's the whole question of the velocity with which businesses need to deliver and deploy new services. The days of taking weeks or months to conceive of a new application service, to design, to procure, to integrate, to deploy into the environment, it's just fundamentally not competitive. And doing it at the scale that's now required, given the speed of innovation in many industries, really requires an infrastructure that can be incredibly efficient and agile in both the runtime phase of providing service, but also in that deployment period as you're going through the whole design and deliver phase. And it's critically important that the infrastructure have the right underlying capabilities to make you agile enough.
So agility is one part of it, but how do you preserve quality of service levels and security while you are being very, very responsive? It's like there are a number of things that all have to happen synchronously.
Yep, absolutely, and that's where automation becomes so key, because without automation, the level of consistency becomes completely dependent on human intervention. And as you inject humans into the process, it takes longer time, there's greater cost, there's greater latency to deploy a new service. So automation is a key to underlying all of this. And where we're moving forward with our OneView products this week, and the new capabilities that we brought to bear there, we've made step function advances in the ability to orchestrate an infrastructure environment at a much higher level than managing individual components in a data center.
But there's other competitors that are doing the same thing. What differentiates HP's approach from some others that are offered?
I'll let Neil talk about the infrastructure stuff, but I think about the world workload in, right? I think about a bank that's running a core banking system that needs to service all these customers, and guess what? They're adding mobile payments, mobile viewing of the application, and the ability to not only send a payment to PG&E, but for me to pay Neil, theoretically, some money, right? And I think about all that change. Change is the enemy of availability. Change is the enemy of stability and predictability. So, how do you say, I'm going to go add these capabilities to my core systems, let them scale, but do it in such a way that I can add them in this flexible, agile way that's all automated? So guess what? I don't have to be intrusive to the core switch. I can put a web front end on that's all virtualized and make that happen using these tools and do it in minutes, not weeks. Guess what? HP can integrate that front to back, from the front end web services through the blades, all the management stuff, the storage it takes, the high-end applications in Unix or nonstop, and make that work together because we've got services people that know how to do that in conjunction with customers.
So your offering is really far beyond a point solution to a single problem. Yeah, it's really incorporating a number of activities and products.
Absolutely. It's about how do you look at the customer's whole infrastructure and say, we have things that will help you solve that whole problem, as opposed to, I have a product. Gee, I have a server, I have a blade, I have a storage device, is different than I can bring a whole philosophy that says, from the back end to the front end and everything in between, we can help your enterprise be more efficient.
But HP's been telling this story for, what, 3 years, 5 years, something like that?
Yeah.
And it seems that the competitors are beginning to pick up on that, but it's almost like the customers are leading the way.
I've almost always found that customers, when you talk to them about their business, will tell you what they need, and our job is to say, how do I invent the technology that will help you solve that problem, and then get it to you in a way that you can consume it. One of the things that's really cool about OneView, and Neil's the expert on this, is it lets them consume it faster, cheaper, and more effectively, so they can focus on the business problem, not the plumbing pieces of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can't talk about HP Discover without talking about the Apollo system a little bit. I think you're pretty proud of that.
I mean, it's seriously cool. No pun intended, I guess. But you think about that. That's a great example of
is high performance computing.
Yeah.
Right. And for those who aren't familiar with Apollo, exactly what is this system?
Got it. So think about high performance computing, supercomputing market, the idea of to really gang up what I need to do to solve tomorrow's problems. We're back to the idea of highly efficient, well-designed water cooling, but in today's modular environment. Guess what? We're a leader in the supercomputer field. Something like 200 of the top 500 supercomputers in the world run on HP. Most people didn't know that. In order to go where people are taking that market, you can't just say, build it out of known stuff. You have to invent the future from that standpoint. But it's a great example of saying, here's a workload, the customers can tell us what they need to do, so what infrastructure do we have to invent in order to enable that, as opposed to saying, well, here's what I've got, can I make it sort of fit if I pound it hard enough? It's about inventing that future.
Right, right. Well, and the flexibility of blade servers, of course, is designed to enable exactly that type of performance, right?
Absolutely, and the flexibility with the automation enables the agility in the environment, and that agility is just absolutely critical to coping with the scale of problems that many of our customers have, and being able to do it securely, with high availability, but to do it quickly.
Okay.
I like that it's standard also. So a customer who decides to standardize on BladeSystem and is moving toward the integrated OneView model, guess what? Can run thousands and thousands and thousands of virtual machines running Red Hat or Windows. They can run HP-UX. They can run nonstop in that same bladed environment. So from that standpoint, think about how you lay out your data center, how you cable it, how you manage all of the infrastructure elements. I'm not saying, well, you can only do X. It's an and when you choose that route.
What's the best resource for people to go to? Just to HP and look for the cover page of who won the cover that week, or are there better resources to point towards?
Well, I guess I would say, one, obviously go to HP, and if you want to do a quick search, you find HP-UX, you find Nonstop, you find all those things. BladeSystem, I think, is hp.go.bladesystem.
That's exactly right, and there you can find information about BladeSystem itself, as well as all of the things that we're doing with OneView, and how to get your hands on that technology and start to explore what it could be doing for you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thanks for the update here. I hope you have a good show as well.
Well,
thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us back.
Thanks to you folks for joining us as well. Please stay tuned, although it's delayed a little bit, direct to disc, as they say. But we'll have further coverage of HP Discover from here in Las Vegas.
Live streaming of SDR news coverage at HP Discover has been made possible by Intel Corporation. Check out Intel OpenPort IT, where you can connect with your peers at Intel on industry topics, best practices, strategies, and more. And by Microsoft, where HP and Microsoft are working together, combining their respective strengths to deliver innovative technologies to help advance your business.